Hello, and welcome to another episode of Reflection Conversations. Today you are watching me on YouTube, and if I haven't painted the image for you to imagine, you can see me with this Christmas pajama. The truth is, I'm quite cozy. I'm wearing a pajamas, I have warm stockings. I'm in this mood here in Madrid. It's getting cold, and even though at the time I'm recording this episode it hasn't been a life for the day the episode comes out, it's going to be the day after Christmas, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope you're having a good time, that you're snuggled up with a blanket or doing something you like, or that you have a little chance to drink a lot of hot water or to be with the people who appreciate. The truth is, I send you the best vibes and a huge hug, because I know that for some this time is not the simplest time. But well, without talking about this so much, I want to tell you that as you saw in the title, today we are going to be talking about the new year, the excitement of the new year, what the new year implies. I know that for many it is a time, as I say, we are going to set mitas, we are going to write resolutions, for others not so much, but I wanted to talk about this topic, because I feel that there are something collective that brings the vibe of the new year. It is something that is celebrated in almost all parts of the world. I wanted to talk about this, because I feel that over the years I have been living it. In a different way, I have always liked to celebrate the new year, but I do feel that I have been evolving my perspective of how I receive the year. So here's to not fear, that I call it the illusion of the new year, and I call it the illusion for two things. Firstly, because I feel that the illusion also represents something that excites us, causes us this illusion, almost like that of little children receiving a gift, gives us inspiration, motivation. We get excited thinking about this year. It can be all these incredible things. It is an illusion for that reason. But at the same time, I feel that it is an illusion in the sense that sometimes we do not stop to think that a year, that today is 2022 and tomorrow is 2023, that is a social construct. Yes, it takes years, it takes centuries, but it is still something that human beings kind of established. Who it says that one revolution around the sun means 1 year, and if it weren't for the fact that we had a calendar, we might not even realize that we are seeing this change, right? I say it because, yes, we go around the sun, and that seems magical to me, incredible. It seems incredible to me that we developed this whole thing we call life in the middle of a floating rock in the middle of space. This last thing I said about it being an illusion, because basically we human beings create it. I'm not saying it to take away the beauty of the new year, because it's true that if you feel a special magical vibe, I say it because sometimes I feel that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We put pressure on ourselves if we don't meet all our goals or all the resolutions that we wrote last year. We put pressure on ourselves sometimes because I have to spend the entire night of the 31st writing resolutions so that they become reality as soon as the clock changes. The heads. I had the ugly of my salt, and it was January, and what I heard for a while now that I had a lot of peace was that a year is a year, because we human beings a long time ago established it to be like that. But if you are feeling bad because you didn't accomplish all the things you wanted, who says that those goals that you had considered has a date of expression, who says that now that page should be closed and you can never read it again? You decide how your life develops, and the majority of your entire life depends on you, on your actions, on your habits, of your way of facing life, and a calendar should not determine everything. It influences sometimes, but it does not control everything, and this is what I want us to keep in mind for the episode of Ave. The first point that I write down here, I title it Little Steps Over Big Ones. What do you think you're going to this? Small steps on big steps. This means that you are going to read. You are saying that big steps do not count. No. I am not saying that. I am saying that sometimes we put on a very big version of climbing a complete staircase, and we do not realize the importance of taking the first step and climbing the first step. Basically, that is what I mean. There is a book called Homage Habits, which I didn't finish, but it's pending. I have it my stand. In this book, the author talked about that if you become 1% better than yesterday, every day, that is to say that each day you become 1% better than the day before, at the end of the year you will do 37% better. That is a lot, taking into account that what you are doing is that every day you are making yourself 1% better. 1% better is something very small, and we would say, maybe it doesn't count that today I was better at this, maybe it doesn't count that today I did this habit for a little longer. Maybe this small step doesn't count, but it does count, because if every day you become 1% better than yesterday, at the end of the year you are going to do 37% better than you were at the beginning, and that is something enormous, and you didn't have to jump through the gym already for this to become a reality. I have realized that sometimes when you take a very big step, big in one, it's very good. It's incredible that he took that leap, that enormous but capable rich person is not sustainable over time, because if all the time you are trying to take this jump, I'm still huge, so you can end up in burnout. I don't know what the Spanish translation of burnout is, but burnout is basically like when you can't give anymore. You're so fatigued that you can't give anymore because you went, and since you were trying to take these huge leaps all the time, a huge leap, You wear yourself out because you are a human being in these types of things. This type of rhythm is not designed for you to sustain over time. I think that is where the pressure that we can feel with New Year's resolutions often comes from, that we set very big heights, that we set the thing enormous and we do not go any further than we realize that to climb a mountain it is not necessary to jump from the base of the mountain to the top, but to take constant small steps all the time without giving up, resting, without giving up, so that's it. What I mean by small steps over big steps, I don't like it, and I've learned that I don't like it because I don't deserve it. I don't deserve to treat myself like this, to put this massive pressure on myself, which sometimes I do because I'm a human being and I fall into those patterns that I was used to because I'm a perfectionist, and because no matter how much I keep working on it and I'm improving, it's still something that I've lived with for many years, and I realize that putting this enormous pressure on myself doesn't favor me. It doesn't help me get things done better, it doesn't help me take more steps. Rather, I learned that if I take it little by little and have compassion for myself, I understand that I am a human being, that today I am trying to take a step forward and I have made 2 steps because we are human beings, but just because there are ups and downs, it doesn't mean that I am not going to continue moving forward, and I realize that if I take things with a little compassion, I move forward more, because if I don't fall into beating myself up, no, I'm very bad, that I didn't do it well, and that's who it helps. Let's be honest, it helps more to tell you what it would be worth. You fell, you're a human being, it's okay, you can stay down there for a moment, but tomorrow you get up and keep trying little by little, and believe that in the long run, in the long term, you get further when you realize that small steps are still steps, that they are not a waste. Sometimes we go through life thinking no, but the thing is that he wanted it and it doesn't count, he didn't want it and it doesn't count, not what you have stopped, and if it counts, this little step that you gave, that extra effort that exists today does count, and that others do not give it. It does not mean that you did it, that effort of yours is not true and is not worth it, because sometimes we are waiting and for others to see the change. Sometimes we are waiting for them to say not to notice, but that others do not see it. It does not mean that you cannot have the ability to recognize that no matter how small a step it was, you took it and it is worth it and it counts and it does add up on the way. So now we are going to say that it would be worth it if he is against New Year's resolutions, because if they are very big, whatever it may be, he may not like this vibe. I am not against resolutions, but whoever says that resolutions are only for January, to write on the 31st and always, you can start writing your resolutions in May, and this is something that I have very much on my mind. I have been saying for a while, but I am worried about starting my goals in May, because May I got inspired, because May I decided that I wanted to make a change in my day. Because I'm going to wait for the 31st or notice it. No, it's very nice, obviously, if you have goals for the 31st and such, but don't limit yourself just because this day I have to write down all my 100,000 goals. No, you can do it a little bit, you can write it down by month, you can write it down by time. I was researching this topic and I said, well, I think it's interesting. I wanted to talk about the subject with data, because you know that I like things that are sometimes more tangible so that you can imagine the issue in your head a little more clearly, and I was searching and I said that you have bought something that is more likely to achieve a goal if you set it for yourself, that is, if it is good to make resolutions, and I certify this because I realize that my goals and desires are written down, my dreams, my things, become reality, if I put them on a board version on my photo wall, if not here, if I establish them and determine them, it is true that it helps me to be focused on that and for them to be reality for a reason. I am a fan of Tututa, I am a fan of writing down goals, I am a fan of journals and a fan of version boards. However, New Year's resolutions have like a loophole, they have a void, which is what makes them many times not fulfilled, and it almost becomes a meme, a joke from now on. No, to forget the year's resolutions, no, they are not fulfilled, this one then the other. And it is not in itself, that there is like the writing of what there is one is not fulfilled, that is not the question here. I was looking at some studies and it said that 80% of the people imagine that 80% of the people do not fulfill their resolutions. There are 4 main reasons why people think that their resolutions are not fulfilled. 35% of people said that their goals were very unrealistic. Later I am going to talk about each of the points. So the first reason that the goals are not enough realistically, 33% of the participants said that they did not keep track of those goals. They did not keep track, well, of those goals. 23% said that they forgot, that once they noticed the resolutions they forgot about those resolutions, they never stopped them again, and the rest of the people said that they had raised too many resolutions. I want to analyze each one, because well, in theory according to this study these are the 4 main reasons why New Year's resolutions are not fulfilled, and if they are here, the first reason was that well, they are not realistic enough. I like to see things as more than realistic, because I am not a fan of the word realistic. It is like it is real, it is realistic for me. I am not a fan of that, because sometimes people hold back, but this is a topic for another episode, because sometimes people say that it is realistic, but in reality it is their way of saying that they are pessimistic and they keep their pessimism behind them. That is why I am a realist and you, as you dream, are very unrealistic. No, I am not a fan of this word. I prefer to think that this resolution, this goal that I wrote, is possible or it is not possible. It is possible to achieve or it is not possible to achieve, or how rather I can make this goal that I have achievable, possible for me. For example, let's go with a topic that I believe that this is the resolution most noted in all the lists of resolutions, whether you do not exercise at all, you will not go from your bed to walk, you do not like to go to the gym, well, you should not in January. Expect that since it is now January, I am going to do 2 hours of weights every day, because that is the truth. Even if it is possible that you are now a person with good habits, exercise, and such, you cannot expect that you, from one day to the next simply because the date on the calendar changed, now you then go, I go to the gym a lot when before I didn't do anything related to exercise. Then we go back to what I had said before, to the base, the small steps. If you want to start exercising, if you want to be a person who in the long run, if you do 1 hour or 2 hours of weights every day in the gym, if you want to be a person like that, you have to start small. If I don't know anything, then today try to do 10 minutes of some exercise. Then if for a week you manage to do 10 minutes of exercise, maybe the following week you realize in that if it is possible for you to exercise and you raise it to 15 minutes and that little, because in the long run that is going to be sustainable. But we start from the first, they are small steps, small things, and not this enormous pressure. So for your resolutions, you are not going to notice I want to do 2 hours of weights every day and not capable. I am going to start taking 10 minutes after my morning coffee to do an exercise. There you have it. It you have on, and what are you going to do there? Start building a habit. Which brings me to the second point, it was the follow-up. I said that 33% of people do not keep track, that is, when they notice the resolution they think they want to do it, but they do not keep a follow-up, an order, a tracking to fulfill it. That is why I loved habits so much, because as with the example of exercise, when you make a habit that issue becomes part of you, and by making it become part of you, you start doing things almost without thinking about it, like checking your teeth. In the morning you don't debate, maybe I do it, I don't do it, maybe yes, maybe no, you do that. I ask for teeth, you put the cream on it, you brush your teeth, because a habit is already internalized. In the same with the rest of the things that you make a habit, like exercise. If you, every day after drinking your coffee you do 20 minutes of exercise, well, it's going to go away. See something that you are not going to debate, that is where I don't do the thing, and see how it is integrated into you. You don't even think, it is done. That is why the issue of monitoring is important, because if it is relevant that at the beginning, when you try to make a habit, you start considering it as a goal, as an action plan, to say, okay, hey, now I do this. My biggest recommendation, more than a follow-up of, well, tracking things, is that you turn the goals you have into habits. Behind each person who achieved something, there is a series of habits that led the person to achieve those things. Because behind every successful author there is a person who had a habit of sitting down and writing so many things every day. Behind every successful doctor, there is a doctor who woke up early and reads a series of papers and goes to work and does a series of things that lead him to become successful. So I say this because habits are the basis of everything, and we can do a later episode on habits and how to make habits if we stick, because once we want to do them, if we implement them and carry them out and it lasts over time, I can do an episode of that later. The reason why I have been talking about this is because follow-up is important, but in my opinion the most important thing is that you analyze what kind of person, what kind of habits the person you want to be has. If you notice a goal, a resolution for the new year, instead of just worrying about how to reach that goal and how to have a follow-up, ask yourself what kind of person has that goal. What kind of habits do you have to achieve that goal? Let's move on to the next point. The next point is to say that people forgot that there was a percentage of people who wrote down the resolutions and by the end of the year they forgot that they had noticed them, and here I go. I think that sometimes we write down things that seem important to us because we have spent a lifetime listening to them, that if we have to exercise, then a typical New Year's resolution. If we have to be a kinder person, then we write it down in resolutions. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I agree that you have to exercise and that you have to be kind people. What I say is, ask yourself why you are writing what you are writing on your list of resolutions. Really, what you are writing is a priority for you. What happens is that sometimes we write down things because we hear them, because they are popular, because it is the typical thing that has to be written down in resolutions, because we also have grenades in our brain, that we don't even stop to ask ourselves if that's really what it is. Something that we want to do. If we are really writing down that we have to exercise because we think it is important for our health, we are doing exercises and we are writing it down because it is the typical resolution, and I give the example of exercise because it is what comes to mind the most, not because I am against it. You know that they are fans. I think it is very important to ask ourselves in general terms and when setting goals, why are we writing down what we are writing down? Is this really something that I want to do, or is it something that I think I have to do because everyone else says that you should be doing this? Because that is what happens to these people who wrote down their resolutions and they forgot. They probably forgot because you were not important. It is because you do not forget. Something that is important to you, if a goal that's really important for you, you make it a priority and you find the time, and that's why for me perspective once, and I know this in the new year, write down a list of priorities. These are my priorities for the moment. These are my top 3 most important things, and I'm going to at this moment, like it enlightens you a lot to know what your priorities are, because when you know what your priorities are, you know which things you are going to make more time for and what other things you can not so much. There are things for which you make time and you take it out from under the saddle, and there are things that are not so important to you, and when you have a chance you are going to do them, and that is why it is important to know why you are writing down what you are writing down behind each habit, behind each goal, that if it is carried out, that if it is fulfilled, there is a good reason why I am doing what I am doing, because if not, what drives us? What moves us to do it? So I go with the next world that says that there are people who wrote down many resolutions and for that reason, they think that they were not fulfilled, and I go back to the small steps. You can go little by little each time, planning new habits and new changes in the middle, and as the year passes, there is no deadline. It is not like that by the 1st January you have to have written down all the resolutions that you want this year, because if it is not fulfilled, no, that does not work like that. Instead of writing down 100,000 resolutions, maybe, well, it's better to write down, 5. I'm going to write down 5 New Year's resolutions, and then later when I feel ready to take on another 5 resolutions in mind, I write them down later, or I even have a resolution. For this new year I have this main goal, and around this main goal I build the rest of the things. What I say is, you don't have to write down 1,000. You don't have to write down 5. You don't even have to write down any. If at this moment you don't feel prepared to take on the responsibility, or you don't feel motivated to write down a goal, no. You have to do it right at this time of year. You can do it later. If at this moment you don't feel ready for that, you don't have to give in to that pressure. Well, if it's in layers right now, you don't notice any layers right now, you're in a process, or this is a complicated moment in your life, or something is healing and you feel like you're not in that mentality. So I'm going to set goals for myself right now, and you don't feel in that mentality, that's fine too. But if you're the type of person who at this moment even notices resolutions, and if you like it and I motivate you at the end of the year, these are some of my tips for you to write your resolutions at the end of the year or at the beginning of the next year, etc. You can even apply this for the whole year, but well, since we are holidays, I say it for this time. My first tip is to set goals that depend on you, that is, they are in your control. Do not set a goal that is like, I want a boyfriend. Okay, that is not a goal as such, because it is not 100% in your control. Let's say that a relationship is 100%, 50% to you, 50% to another person. You can control a 50%, you can work on yourself, you can set goals like, I want to work on my loyalty, I want to work on my self-love so that I don't have to choose people from a vacuum. I want to work on being an honest person, on being respectful, on being responsible, because I want to have all these things for myself and because it is also what I would like from another person. So those are goals that depend on you. Work on yourself, things of you, that is, what is in your control. That is my recommendation. Set goals that are in your control, because there are things that are not, but there are things that are your habits, the way people treat you, how you react to life, those types of things being in control. So I recommend that you set goals that are in your control. Now, but if I want a boyfriend, or if I have this dream that I don't know, I want to be close and there are things that are in my control, how to work on my voice, like this, like that, but maybe there is another issue that capable is a component that I can't control. I don't say those types of things there, no, you can't, because since it's not in your control, you don't write it down. I write down on the one hand the things that are in my control, like goals, this habit, this other habit, and the things that are not in my control. I believe in God. Maybe you believe in the universe or you believe in another energy. The rest more than goals or desires. They are dreams, and I also like to notice those desires. I want a Miss Kazana. I want that. I want the other in those desires. Say goodbye or to the universe or whatever you believe. What is not in your control, you can manifest it. You can ask God to light a path for you and tell you, can you help me to see what I have to do to achieve this other thing? So I give the example of a boyfriend. Well, you can set goals of your own, make it to Tuesday Tignism, etc. Those are the goals, you can write them down, those things are in your control, but that the right person, Whether he arrives or does not arrive or arrives at this moment, arrives and the day after. Tomorrow may not be 100% in your control, because you cannot control all the people of humanity either, so there he asks for it, or asks for the universe, and I hope that the right person arrives, and please give him my path, and above all pray, so that when that person arrives you have enough of me. To be able to recognize that that person is in front of you, well, that was the first point, a little long, but while we are closing the year, this is the end of the year episode, we have to talk. Let's go with the next point, which is shorter. I noticed her also English, I don't know why, she says, they're too dream. She wants to say this to someone else and they will dream you. Very Disney, very Disney, very Disney. Welcome to the podcast, and to me, I'm like that, but there is something that I love of the new year, is that I feel like this magic, in the environment, that people dare to dream more than normal. Yes, it is true, sometimes 1,000 resolutions are made, and perhaps at another time of the year I would never think of considering them, and sometimes it is too much, but how beautiful is that question, that passion that you have within you, that forces you to consider 1,000 resolutions, because it is something that happens at this time, I dare. Here, as I believe that there is a certain magic, at the end of the year I dare to dream a little bigger. I like to take advantage of the vibe of inspiration, to dream big, because I feel that sometimes we are afraid of dreaming too big, because there is, and if that big dream that I have is not fulfilled as I am, it is not supposed to be more scary, to live a life in which we never try, to pursue what we wanted, to dream as big as we wanted, because it gave us something that does not come true. But what would happen if things turned out better than you imagined? What if thanks to you dared to dream so big? You began to see a path that I had never seen before to achieve goals that I had never before imagined that I was capable of achieving. I am more afraid that life will pass me by without daring me, the things that I wanted out of fear, that I don't really know, because of what we try. There is a phrase that my brother reminded me, very iconic, this one, I don't know what movie it is, but it is everywhere on social networks, which is like, when the train is moving and we are more afraid. Highlight exactly the moment in which you jump, and I say this because, from a dream I don't know everything, the things that we achieve were first an idea in our mind and then they manifest and materialize in reality, so take advantage of this fiber in which people are so encouraged to consider my resolutions, take advantage of this collective fiber, to consider enormous dreams, and don't be afraid to dream big, and that you care if people tell you that that is very big, right? What do I care about my life and yours? Are very big dreams not going to come true? Let's see, we'll talk in a few years. And with this point, I also like to dream through version boards. I am very, very visual. I love version boards. I will do them at any time of the year. The last one I have, I don't remember when I did it, but I'm almost sure it wasn't the beginning of the year, and I love version boards. They have helped me a lot. I can make a podcast about this or a video about this. I know that in some video YouTube I have an explanation of how I made the version board that I have on my computer, but I like to have it on my iPad. I have one. On my computer I have my wall of photos that I have to objectify because it has its time, but the version boards are the best. I love them. They put together a lot of images of how you want, of the energy that you want in your life, of things that you want in your life, and it inspires you to see it every day. It inspires you to dream big because you are seeing photos in which what you want does exist, because what you want exists. You just have to do the and the following here. This is, I think, my favorite thing about the end of the year. I love the concept of letting go. I know that it may be something symbolic, but the fact that it is something symbolic does not take away the value it has. On the contrary, it has an enormous weight, and I love the concept of leaving behind, of leaving in the year that is already past those things that weigh us down, leaving people behind, leaving bad habits behind, leaving resentment behind, leaving that weight behind, getting rid of that weight. Obviously, I am aware that healing is not from one day to the next, and that if they hurt you or if you yourself have habits that do not reflect your self-love, it does not mean that from one day to the next you change it and that's it now on a new account. No. But I really like the symbolism of leaving behind and taking advantage of the fact that just as there is a collective bayura of dreaming big, I also feel that there is a collective bayura that people like to leave the bad in the previous year and we go to the next one as a blank, and I like this vibe. There are people who grabbed a piece of paper, they burn it with all the things that you no longer like them. You can think about it. You can do a meditation, then do a journaling session and write down everything that you want to let go in the next year. But it is something that I like a lot, because this comes to the one that I say that it is done. Today I take off this weight from my shoulders and I leave it behind. And so you say, well, but not today's antics. You don't have to heal everything today, but it can be a good step to start in something that I like so well, today's zeal, because I believe that for my lucky part the new year is buried like there is. Look, I left it behind. I removed these pebbles that were thinking on my shoulders, and well, to finish, this is the last point that I have, and well, to finish, this is my last point, and I wanted to have some fun. I wanted to have fun with this point, not to have New Year rituals, that is to say my favorite rituals and also the ones that have worked the most for me. I will clarify which ones have served me, which ones have not served me. The first one is valid with the previous one, what I told you, this thing of writing everything on a piece of paper and putting a bonfire or in the fireplace and burning it, or putting it in a safe space and burning it, and people do it a lot to let go. I know that there are people who also do it with their wishes, which is like a symbol that you write down your wishes on a piece of paper, whatever else, and that smoke is like the wishes are filling upwards and they are coming true, each person with what is most useful to them. I have already told you about the theme of attraction. And with the subject of these things, the important thing is that you believe that it works. If you believe and you enter that you are serving yourself, okay, if it helps you to let go and write it on a piece of paper and put it on a fireplace, you do it. Here it goes. I think this is my oldest New Year's ritual, that is to say that I have been doing it since I can remember. Since I can remember the new year, I know that I do this, and it is the one that has served me the most, that is, my mind is everything that always works. The suitcase, I was reading that this was very typical of Latin America, but I don't know if other parts do it. I think that today the world is so globalized that maybe it is already a universal, but if you don't know what you were talking about with the suitcase, you pack a suitcase, when that clock strikes 12, you go out with the suitcase and, for example, if I am in my house in Caracas, I leave the house and take a few walks down the street. I run, I don't know why. With my dad and I run very fast, with the suitcase. My brother doesn't believe this, we do it, my dad, my mom, me, because my dad believes. My dad is very superstitious, so we go out with a suitcase. It doesn't have to be, well, a carry-on suitcase, whatever. And when you go out to the street at my grandparents' house and dry up some neighbors who sometimes also come out and we can't find them with the suitcases. I love this, I've been doing it for years. You can see me in it this moment. My happy face is on YouTube. If not, I think you can notice it, friends. You bring me a lot of happiness going out with my suitcase. And why this is done, because I did not explain, it comes out with the suitcase as a symbol that many trips are going to come. I go out with the suitcase. I love to travel. I love going out with my suitcase. When the clock strikes 12, that is, it strikes 12, imagine this image. It strikes 12, normally we make a countdown, you know? What do you mean 10, 9, 8 are each? We hug each person in the family, and after that I grab my suitcase and I go out with my suitcase, and well, in my top I wanted to share it with them. The next New Year's ritual, next, the grapes. The grapes are very typical. I think it is one of the most common traditions. It seems to me, from what I have heard, I think it is one of the most common traditions. In theory, if you have never heard this, you eat 12 grapes. 1 symbolizes each type that now I am saying it normal, but well, if it becomes my family, I don't know if it is like that. But well, each grape is a wish, I understand. There are 12 wishes, 12 grapes for the 12 months of the year, and you eat them before the new year is, or when it is changing. Well, precisely when the new year is changing, I eat 3 grapes and multiply it by 4. That is, each grape symbolizes 4 wishes. I am hungrier. I eat 4 grapes and each grape 3 wishes. I don't eat them 12 grapes, but I do ask for my 12 wishes. What also happens is that after you ate dinner, in my case, I believe that this is tradition too, but my family has a New Year's dinner, and after having that dinner and eating dessert and drinking cream punch, when 12 arrives, well, I don't think that eating fear is grapes, but well, I still eat 3, you are going to eat 2 and multiply it by 6, it doesn't matter, but your 12 wishes you can ask for it, you don't need the grape to lose wishes, but hey, this is the symbol, the tradition. The next one is Emio, a letter to yourself. You can send it by Emio or write a letter by hand to yourself. I have never done the Emio thing. It falls off like a page, and if I find it, it will be put in the description of the podcast, and especially on YouTube I know I can do it. I don't know if I can do it on the other one, but if you are listening to it on some of the others platforms and you don't see the link for the Emio, go to YouTube, because on YouTube I probably leave it in the description, but hey, there is a page where you can write your Emio and it will arrive to you within a year, or within 2 years, depending on how you set the time. Once what I did was with a letter by hand, and I remember that I wrote it from 2018 to 2019, and I have a whole video on YouTube. It was one of my first videos on YouTube explaining how everything I wrote in that letter came true, so if you want to see it you can go see it. I haven't seen that video for many years, but I did, and I was talking about how everything I wrote in that letter came true. Maybe this year, instead of a handwritten letter, it hasn't happened again. Since 2018 it hasn't happened again. But maybe this year I wrote it in an email. I thought it was funny, but also by hand anyway. The format is the same. The format of what I did is the same, which is how it manifests itself. Basically, you write a letter to yourself. That is, today I feel like writing a letter to myself, but as if at this moment I were worth the future. That is, instead of writing a letter to me, or the future would be worth more than 2 years from now. No, I'm going to write to myself. hello, it would be worth the past. We are in, what do I know, 2025, and this year I am very happy because I have graduated since I talked about you last time, the achieved, this, that is, you have to talk to yourself, as if everything that you want to happen in the future has already happened. Basically you are counting it as a memory. Look, the past would be worth it, you feel yourself writing the letter and it says, I wanted the past to be worth it. Today I want to tell you that my life today looks like this, and I have this and I accomplished this and I achieved this and I achieved the other. That is, all the things that you want, you are going to tell them as if they already happened has been unfulfilled, as if within 2 years or the date that you want to put, because well with the date that you want, as if at that moment in 2025 or 2024, it seems like time you fulfilled a series of things and you are counting it as if to look at it, as if I am giving you an update, as if I was updating you with a friend who hasn't been there for a long time, and instead of saying, by 2025 I want to accomplish this, you are going to count this as if you already accomplished it. I don't know if I explain myself the same way. I'm almost sure that in that video in YouTube I explain it more. But basically at this moment you play and imagine that you are it would be worth it from within. Well, it would be worth it, no, that you are yourself in 2 years and you are counting all the things that you want to accomplish as if you already know they complied, and you are telling the good news to a friend who is yourself. The following ritual is quite funny. The rituals make me laugh a lot, I don't, because I start to think about how peculiar we human beings are. The next ritual is that of underwear. As a child I had heard a lot the ritual that if you put on new yellow underwear, because I don't know why it had to be new, but new, that brought a lot of abundance and prosperity the following year. But lately I have heard you say that red underwear red also brings a lot of abundance, a lot of prosperity. I haven't done it, and I'm not sure, but if it has helped you, tell me. And the next one is one of my favorites. It is the New Year's ritual of gratitude. I think so. I have been doing it for years. I think that since between this world of spirituality and self-love I have done gratitude because it seems incredible to me. I liked it. Thank you for the year that passed, for the people that I have entered into my life, and I also like to thank myself for the things I faced the year, for the things I achieved, for the person I am, and it seems very powerful to me to also be grateful for what one has achieved. That is, if you want something to come true, for example, you want to take a trip to Hawaii, and you give thanks today. Thank you for my trip to Hawaii, and sit with gratitude inside. That is also a very important ritual to manifest, because you are bringing all that energy of gratitude, with a wish that you want, and make it come true too. Writing a list or say thank you out loud. You can write a message. I also like to send messages to certain people who have helped me in the year, or for whom I am grateful for being in my life, and I send them a message, thank you for this, and this, the other. You can write it in a letter, you can say it to someone, you cannot say it, you can write a letter to yourself. Be a smart person, just sit for a while with your eyes closed and think about it, while you write music, and you give thanks, give the important grace, because if it is true, that person's life is not perfect, because we human beings are not perfect, but if you are alive, and the sun rose and is still in this world, the most likely thing is that you can find something to be grateful for, and also thank yourself because you have not given up, because you are still here trying and keep dreaming, and those things are important, so taking a little time for that, I like it, and a nice ritual. In any case, time of year, but at this time more involved with what we live collectively. And well, now to finish, I'm going to eat with conclusions. I'm going to be looking outside. Well, we're in the mute. The first thing I want to clarify here is that it seems to me the most important of the whole new year and of this whole time is that you find a way for you to enjoy it. If you want to go out and walk around with a suitcase, go out and walk around with a suitcase, if that brings a smile to your face. If you want to put on a stand-up to eat and in the background, while the new year, because you want to piss yourself laughing, Polo, but I'm looking for a way in which you enjoy it. And the other thing that you don't get around here is that I know that for some people this time of year can be a little hard, this time of festivities, maybe because they are not with their family, because they are far away, or because they live in another country, another city, etc., or because they don't have a good relationship with their family or capable. So that's why I recommend that you do something that you make you happy. Maybe put on a Christmas movie that makes you happy, or if you don't even like today's movie, I'll put on the movie, leave it alone. Who says you can't watch it? Do whatever makes you happy. If you are the type of person who likes to go out on New Year's Eve, but for some reason you don't have time to notice all your resolutions, or you might forget, eat the grapes, or not. You have a suitcase with you, then you can't go out with a suitcase. Nothing happens. As I tell you, they are rituals, they are for fun and not for stress. And if you are anxious about something, you don't have to do them. Nothing bad will happen if you Want to close your eyes and make a wish? If you don't have time, it doesn't matter, you can do it later. Whoever says you can't go out with the suitcase, I have never done it, because whoever says you can't go out with the suitcase, in April if it provokes you, and nothing happens, if you didn't have the chance to eat all the grapes, the important thing, as I say, is to enjoy it, this day is to enjoy it, and these rituals are to enjoy, to laugh for a while, to enjoy for a while, to share a while with people we love, and if you don't have the chance, nothing happens, but to distress us. No, these things are not to distress us, because as I read it here, with the favor of God, on the 1st of January, you know what will happen, when the clock strikes 12 and the calendars change to January 1st, 2023, what is going to happen is that the sun is going to rise, and we are going to be able to try again, and because I am also one of those who believe that nothing really changes if you do not change, that is, you want a different path. It not only depends on the color of your underwear, it does not depend on whether you went out with your suitcase, it depends on your habits, it depends on the people you choose to surround you, it depends on the person you want to be, how you treat others, how you behave with yourself and how you keep your promises. Not only depends on the color of underwear or whether or not you ate 12 nails, and the other thing I want to return to a point that I talked about at the beginning, which is that you have to have compassion. There is nothing wrong with falling. Let's welcome this year and let's close our eyes for a moment. Unless you were listening to this while walking, please don't, it will be the eyes, or if they are driving, please, it will not be the eyes, but if they are in a place where it is safe to close their eyes, let's close our eyes for a little while and think in what we are going to receive this year with compassion, saying, you know, it's okay if I try and I fall, it's okay if I trip, it's okay if it doesn't work out the first time. Have self-pity. If you fall, you get up. If you fall, you want them to clear the floor for a while, cry, rest for a while, for a little while, you do it, but please get up. After you have cried what you have to cry, after you have slept or rested what you have to rest, you get up and try again because you deserve the life of your dreams and you can give yourself the life of your dreams. But it remains in you, the best time for new beginnings, no matter how beautiful the new year is, the best time for new beginnings, no matter if it is the 31st or if it is April or if it is May or if it's October. The best time for new beginnings is now, and it's never too late to be who you want to be. It sounds very Barbie girl, being who you want to be, but it's true. There is a phrase that I love. You know those types of phrases that run through your mind and you have them there, suddenly you remember them, and if it was a nice phrase, there is a phrase that I love that is attributed to Scott Fitzgerald. I'm not sure if it's from him, but regardless I love it. I translate it because I think the original is in English. But the phrase goes like this. I wanted to read it to you because it seems beautiful and very appropriate for this time. It says like this: for what it's worth, it's never too late, or in that case, too early to be who you want to be. There is no time limit. Start whenever you want, you can change or stay the same. For this there are no rules, we can do it better or worse. I hope you do your best. I hope you see things that surprise you. I hope you feel things you have never felt before. I hope you meet people who have a different point of view. I hope that you live a life that you are proud of, and if you are not, I hope that you have the courage to start over. I love her. You inspire me a lot with this phrase and it motivates me a lot, and the truth is that I feel that it has a huge component of something true. I think that this phrase is very true, and I hope that she lives like this, that they stumble when they get up, that they try to make them try again to dream big, that they make mistakes and that learn from them, cry, sing, dance. I hope they feel proud of you same, and if they are not for some reason, I hope you have enough courage to stand up and say, well, I'm doing it again. So well, that was all for today's episode. For the next one it will be if days that were next year. So I send you a huge hug, to where you are in a very happy year, a very big hug as I say on YouTube, that when I see you I will give it to you. Very happy new year, I send you all my good pounds, much love that I hope you are receiving at this moment, and please never ever forget that regardless of whether it was good or not so good, your truth's value never changes, because it has always been you and it will be enough. I see it. Or we will hear from you soon in a next episode.